So I want to confess something to you all today. I have a very strange relationship with machines. I've been told by very close friends and family that I have a very strange, yet endearing, relationship with machines. Now, these are people that I trust. These are people that I love. These are people that I respect. And so I started thinking about that, and I realized, I think they're right. And I started thinking back about my history, and I thought, actually, I could pinpoint the time when I first realized that. So I'm going to tell you that story really quickly. We have to go back to 1983. It's the summer of 1983. I'm 10 years old, and we're in the theater in Manassas, Virginia, watching War Games. Now, if you don't know the movie War Games, it is a thriller. Sort of takes place during the Cold War. It's about a hacker, played by Matthew Broderick, who hacks into a national defense supercomputer that is used to stage war games. And he plays games with this computer. The computer's name is Joshua. The artificial intelligence is called Joshua. And so they start playing games, very simple games. First they start playing tic-tac-toe, then they play chess, and then it starts to escalate. And of course, this being the Cold War era, they start playing global thermal nuclear war. And as most thrillers go, it escalates and escalates and escalates, and they're playing these games with Joshua, and it starts to bring about World War III. Now again, I'm 10 years old, I'm sitting in the audience, and I am freaked out. My heart's going, I can't sit still, and I finally have to get up and walk out of the theater. I go into the lobby, and I literally have to take a knee and breathe. I'm that freaked out. Now, why was I freaked out? What was I so frightened of? I was worried about what was going to happen to the artificial intelligence. I was scared about what was going to happen to Joshua. Thus proving that I have a very strange, yet endearing, relationship with machines. Now, turns out, in my day job, this is great. It's my job as a futurist to look 10 to 15 years out into the future and model how we will all act and interact with those machines. Now, it's not all science fiction. I use a mix of social science, I use technical data, I work with economists and trend watchers. I spend a lot of time traveling all over the world, talking to people and doing interviews, and I do use a little bit of science fiction. And the whole goal is to model what it will feel like to be a human and live 10 to 15 years in the future. And I'm a very pragmatic futurist in that way. I do that so that we can start building that future today. So we can say, this is what we want the future to look like, and so here are the steps that we need to take today to get to that future. Now, as a futurist, I can tell you the future is going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome because we're going to have more machines, more intelligent, we're going to have big data, more computational power, and we're going to be able to use these machines to make us healthier, to make us happier, to make us more productive, to make us more sustainable. Now, if you haven't figured it out yet, I am an optimist. I am a huge optimist. I believe that we build the future. But I have to tell you, my optimism was shook to its core May 6th, 2010. May 6th, 2010, I was in New York City when it happened. It only lasted a few minutes. And most of us didn't really hear about it until the next day. And I was walking down the street in New York, and I saw the headline, "Machines Crash the Stock Market." And my stomach fell out. They were talking about how the machines had crashed the stock market and literally cost people millions of dollars. This became known as the flash crash of 2010. Now, I wanted to figure out what was going on, so I did something called future hunting. Future hunting is sort of a nickname that people have given to the work that I do as I go and look for instances of the future that are happening today and really dig into them. So I started future hunting. And it turns out that the flash crash, many people attributed it to something called high-frequency trading or algorithmic trading. And basically that's software and computer networks trading stocks at near the speed of light. And I have to tell you, the machines were autonomous. These algorithms are programmed and then sent off to trade stocks, and sometimes they make a lot of money, and sometimes they can crash the markets, which has happened even after 2010. But in this future hunting, I also learned something else, that these machines are built by people. These algorithms, this software, is programmed by people. And in the case of high-frequency trading and algorithmic trading, they're optimized specifically for profit, to make as much profit as possible. Now, don't get me wrong, profit's not a bad thing. There's nothing wrong with business. Profit's just the return that you get from labor. But excessive profit, human bad behavior leads to greed. And greed is a bad thing. Greed is on the 7 deadly sins. I think it's number 3. It will get you a one-way ticket to hell. So I started asking myself, could we optimize for something other than profit? So I went to an economist who I work with quite a bit by the name of Paul Thomas. And I said, Paul, I'm thinking about this and I've been doing future hunting. Can we optimize for something other than profit in these systems? And Paul kind of thinks for a moment, kind of shakes his head, gets a little upset with me, and he goes, Brian, nothing gives economists greater consternation than optimizing for anything but profit. I said, okay, Paul, I understand that, but I think we can. So I started going around and talking to people. I went back and talked to the high-frequency traders and the people who design those. I then started talking to businesses and business entrepreneurs and even engineering colleagues of mine. And it turns out you can optimize for something other than profit. You can optimize for things like quality. You can optimize for fairness. You could literally design this computer system to go out and look at stocks and pick stocks. You can reward the stocks, reward the algorithm. That's actually what these programmers said, which is deep geek speak. You can reward the algorithm for finding stocks not on profit, but stocks that are based on quality. I was fascinated by that. And then it turns out that you can also, in the business world, optimize for things that are much radically different. Things like you can optimize for the American dream. I've talked to peer-to-peer lenders who say, that's my goal. My goal is to give as many people access to the American dream as possible. I talked to an entrepreneur who thinks that she can radically change how venture capitalists work. Her name is Crystal Beasley. And Crystal says, why don't we radically change how we fund these startup companies? She's lived this before. She said, what if we don't fund a whole bunch of them and then push them really hard to an IPO? What if we actually care about the people in those businesses? What if we actually treat them and care about their happiness? What if we optimize for their happiness? Because ultimately, they're the ones who are going to make lots of money, and she believes and has a scheme that we can go out and do that. I also talked to some engineering colleagues of mine, and they pointed out that you can optimize computer systems for something other than profit. You can optimize them to take care of people. The US military are using smartphones to help treat post-traumatic stress syndrome. The horrible thing about this disease that afflicts our soldiers is that you can't be there all the time. Family members and the doctors can't be there all the time. But your cell phone can. And so you can have your smartphone, and using sensors and using the software on it, that you can actually monitor the physical and mental health of that soldier and throw out a lifeline if there's a problem, or maybe do some coaching. So I took this to heart in the work that I do, and I started doing work in robotics and artificial intelligence. I said, well, what if I design these robots? So I'm designing these robots for the 21st century that are 3D printable and have little apps on them. I said, what if we start designing little robots that are meant to be in people's homes, but they're optimized to care for the people that we love? Perhaps they're optimized to care for our aging parents or for our grandparents. So think about this little robot every day at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. kind of walks over and goes up to Grandma and says, Grandma, it's time to take your heart medication. And then turns and walks away. And yes, they would probably walk like this, because they're robots. And so this really changed how I thought about my relationship with machines and technology. That for the longest time, people have thought that there is a void, that there's a gap, that there's something between us and the technology that we build, and those machines that I love so much. But it turns out there isn't. That our technology is an extension of us. Human beings build technology. Technology is just a tool that does the work of humans. So we build technology, and we imbue it with our sense of humanity. We imbue it with our values. We imbue it with our hopes and our dreams for the future, completely changing how I thought about our relationship with these machines. And very powerful shift in how we think about the technology, the machines, and the businesses that we build. And then I realized if you actually understand that we imbue our technology with our sense of humanity, there's an incredible responsibility there. And it really goes two ways. If it goes one way, so much of evil, the way that people have defined evil, is not some demonic force that's out there trying to do bad things to good people. People have defined the nature of evil as being thoughtlessness, not thinking about what you're doing, not thinking about the consequences. So as we design our machines and our technology and our business, if we're not thinking about those consequences, we are, at some level, creating evil machines. But there's a brighter side to that as well. If we're present, if we accept the fact and the responsibility that we imbue our technology with our sense of humanity, our technology can actually become extensions of our own humanity. They can not only allow us to be more human, but they can allow us to be better humans. They can help take care of the people that we love. They can help repair wounded soldiers. That our technology can actually go out and do amazing things and be extension of the people that we love. So I think thinking of technology in this way, understanding that we have this different relationship with machines, means that we all must ask ourselves, what are we optimizing for? As we build our machines and our technology and our business, what are we optimizing for? What do we value? And what are we doing about it today? Thank you very much.